welcome to the Antique Trader. And I'm so glad you're here with us. And we're here with Carol Bancroft, and she's going to speak about monogramming. Carol, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background?
In the embroidery business, I started actually by mistake. A girlfriend of mine wanted to embroider the names and the phone numbers for dog collars for puppies, and especially for show people who would show the animals and then take them to different locations. And we were sewing one day, and a gentleman came over and he gave me a jacket, and he goes, "Can you put my initials in this jacket, because my brother has the same one and he keeps taking mine?" And I was thinking, embroider on clothes? Are you crazy? And so I did, and I looked at it and I'm going, oh, this is interesting. That's how it started from there.
Let me stop you right there. Tell me, what did you do as a career-wise before you even started on embroidery?
I was working at Children's Hospital in Oakland, California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, EKG technician there. I did EKGs and halters and stress tests.
That's a big jump from doing that type of thing to monogramming.
Oh, definitely. But after the stress of being in the hospital with the kids all day, the monogramming was relaxing. I enjoy sewing.
You enjoy it, okay.
Yeah.
So tell us, because you know this is a program about antiques and collectibles, and monogramming goes way back. Could you tell us about that?
It actually, in Russia, they found a fossilized body, and the clothing was hand stitched. This was in 1300. They found another one in 1984, and it was the remains of another person who was believed to be 30,000 BC. Hand-stitched boots and hat with little flakes of ivory attached to it as an embellishment. So it goes way, way back. Then in the early 1900s, in England, it flourished tremendously for the kings and the queens and the very wealthy people. And some of those beautiful relics are still in museums today.
How about the knights in shining armor? Remember those?
Well, we didn't embroider their armor, but no, the kings and the queens and all that gorgeous.
the warm clothing they used to wear underneath. I remember they used to have the crest on them, and that was all handmade and
the crest,
embroidered.
yes, and the flags that they carried. And there was just so much embroidery that, I mean, that's all the women did. They just sat and sewed all day and did beautiful, beautiful stitching. Then in the early 1700s, 1700 BC, they found some work that was done in China. And this really started, and the Chinese had a very unique way of doing it. They would take a strand of satin and silk, and they would split it 8, 10, 14 times, 18 times to very, very super thin threads. And their needles were about the size of your hair. And to thread that and do all this beautiful embroidery.
This brings me to another thing. Did they wear glasses then? Because how in the world do you thread a needle? That has to be impossible.
I know. I've seen some of the work in museums, and it's absolutely fabulous. I mean, how they put that thread together and how they did that is just something I wouldn't have the time, to do. It's so tedious. But it was passed down from mother to child, through the years.
So it is a collectible.
And it's called SU, S-U. And then it diminished quite a bit during the wars, and during the Han Dynasty, it died out. And now that China has opened up again, 1980, it started flourishing again. So now some of their things that they're doing are able to come here, and you're able to get hold of it. However, I haven't, but
So it's called Sue,
Sue,
SU.
SU.
Is that a particular design?
That's the type of embroidery that it is, with the very super fine threads.
Ah.
They make it into pictures. You'll see pictures of peacocks and trees. You know, the Japanese style of painting, but it's all done with hand
Is
embroidery.
this the type that they do like on nylon?
Yes.
My mother has 2 of those pictures in the house.
Well, there you go. We've got to see those. We've got to see those. They hand did it with silk thread on silk.
I didn't know what they were, and I've always looked at them and admired them. And my uncle bought them when he was overseas.
Oh, they're a
During the
treasure
war.
then. You have got a true treasure, and you got to find out what dynasty they were done at, because it's just recent that they've started bringing the things here.
But these are like old, and they're just hanging there. And my father says, "Well, what are you gonna do with these?" I says, "I don't know." I says, "I like them, but they
let's
really."
not hang them there.
Yeah. Well, now I know what we
now
have.
you found a treasure.
Yes,
a real
that's
treasure.
wonderful. Okay, so let's see. Now you brought something here to show us. Let's
Yes.
start with this.
Okay, this is a scarf, and it's done with just 2 initials and somewhat the same color thread, monochromatic. You want it not to be bursting out at you, you want it to be a soft design. And so you put initials with the same thread on something like this that you just wanted to show as soft. This is the first and last name. Monograms can be first, middle, and last, straight across, but most often when you do it in a design, it's the first name, your last name is the big letter, and the middle name would be the last letter, as in this one here. Here's first, last, and middle.
Okay, let me hold this up because I have a question to ask about this first one. Okay, so this one
Is first, last, and middle. The last initial is always the biggest one. But then you run into the etiquette of embroidery. Sometimes people don't like to, depending on the design, they don't like the way it looks. So you just break all the etiquette rules and put it the way that looks the best.
they want it.
To make it more beautiful, to have the letters flow.
Okay, I have a question about this.
Yes.
I see this one is a little bit more 3-dimensional. Do you have to insert, let's say, some type of thread or whatever, or
You
do you
mean to
just
puff out?
to puff out like that?
Not on that. That is done because the thread is really super tight, and the underneath layers are super tight. However, there is a puff embroidery you can do, and that you see it usually on hats, and they put foam rubber underneath the stitching. So you put this light layer of foam as the machine is going back doing a satin stitch, and it makes it puff up.
Well, my idea of how it puffed up, let me tell you, and so you can explain it to everybody else, was that maybe you took that heavy yarn that they have for rug sewing and
Yeah.
whatnot, and put it there and go with the stitching on top of it.
Oh, no, that would be really difficult.
So you could tell I haven't done monogramming.
But the biggest thing is that this is done by a machine. Now, machines came in, and it pretty well wiped out the hand sewing. Very few people actually do monograms by hand, because the machines are now in industry. You've got your big machines that have got multiple heads, 15 or 20 heads, with anywhere from 10 to 18 threads. And they take a huge roll of material, and as the material is rolled on these big rollers, they go through the monogramming machine or the embroidery machine, and that's where they get their design put on. Then they get re-rolled and cut out. So the pattern is they already know it's going to be on the pants leg. So they know exactly it's marked where this is going to go.
Now, have you ever done any monogramming by hand?
No. I do sewing by hand. I don't do monogramming by hand. I've got a
I do
commercial
cross
machine.
stitch and embroidery. That's
Well, cross stitch embroidery is entirely different. Embroidery and monogramming basically are initials and logos. You've got an etiquette with monogramming always too.
let's see something else.
Something like
This is
that.
my favorite.
Now this is like a logo. Okay, I took the state of Texas. I belong to the Red Hat Society. So I took the state of Texas outline. I put a red hat in it. I grabbed some roses from another design and put that together, and then just made this logo for the t-shirts.
That really, really came out nice. This has to be my favorite.
I also embellished with a couple little sparkles to make it, which you can do, with the embroidery.
It's excellent. I'm loving it. So you said embroidery and monogramming is coming back.
Oh, it's big time, especially here in Texas. Everything is embroidered. In fact, I had a plain old white purse that I was kind of getting ready to dump, and I thought, let's put something on it, make it look more exciting.
Wow.
So I got some leaves, and here again, you can take a regular design. I took the rose out and stuck my last name in. So you can take a design and redesign the design.
That is
so that you
gorgeous.
have something that's unique. It's mine. It's personalized.
I have a beautiful purse.
And this is what sells monogramming, is the personalization of it. When you buy something in a store and have it personalized as a gift for someone, it makes it super special because it's theirs alone. It's got their name on it.
Tell us about the etiquette of having men's dress shirts monogrammed,
Yeah.
because that makes you're either an executive or an executive plus if you're wearing these shirts.
They don't want to be shouting. Most often, the man gets the left cuff, just above the button, monogrammed with 3 initials or 1 initial, whatever his choice. Usually it's 3, his first name, the large last name, and the small middle name. And it's on the left cuff because they shake hands with the right. And you don't want something shouting out who you are. It's to be monogrammed quietly. On a blue shirt, you would use navy thread. On a white shirt, you would use like light silver or gray. It should be really quiet. Now, this is another cute story that I heard.
Okay, we're gonna hold it right there,
Okay.
and we're just gonna take a short break, and we'll be right back. We're here with Carol Bancroft, and she does monogramming. Okay, Carol, let's continue our conversation with monogramming. We're talking about monogramming etiquette.
We were talking about the men's shirts.
Right.
And like I said, he'd just do the left cuff or the pocket. You don't want to overkill. You don't do a pocket and a cuff.
What is
There's
the worst overkill that you've ever seen? I'm sorry that I interrupted.
This gentleman wanted his initial, his middle initial, the big one. He wanted it to be 1.5 inches. And that like takes up the whole cuff. And he goes, I want people to know who I am and see me. And so I not only did the cuff, I did the pocket also. And so, he just had his name just blasted
How
all
short
over.
was he?
No, he was a big man. He was
Okay.
about 6 foot. But he had the cuff, he had the pocket, and then he had a scarf, a little handkerchief that he put in his pocket with his name on top of that. So it was just like monogrammed gone crazy. You know, so, but there is an etiquette to it, and it should be. It is mostly followed by most people, and that is to make it look good and conservative. And also for they monogram. You'll see it on team sports. Their soccer bags, and their baseball bags, and with the kids' names. Very seldom will you see, even in professional, you see their last name or you see their first name. You never see their whole name.
That's true.
Just to show you an example in this magazine, this is some little children's items that I saw, and you'll notice they have an initial. On outside clothing, a jacket or a dress or anything that a child should wear should never have their name.
You told us
For safety.
Exactly.
For safety. You don't want someone calling, "Hey, Charlie, come and get this little puppy." And how does this guy know I'm Charlie? Because his name is on his jacket. So we never put their name on outside clothing. Pajamas, yes.
Okay.
Maybe. But I always preferred to do initials.
Now, how did you pick up all this knowledge? Did you slowly learn by trial and error throughout the years? Or did you take a class in order to learn what you know?
Well, they have big seminars, and they're usually put on by the monogramming manufacturers. They want to sell you their big machines. And so you go to these, and they have classes, and they teach you, you know, different things. So I picked up a lot there. And reading magazines and reading about monogramming and talking to other monogrammers.
Is it expensive to go to school for monogramming?
There
to
is
take
no
a
school.
workshop?
You buy a machine and
And you go for
and you
it.
go for it. Yeah, basically.
It's like choo-choo train. If it comes back, I'm good.
Yeah, basically. I can't tell you how many things I made into a disaster before I figured out the tension and figured out which way it goes and what thread to use. So yeah, I think one of the first things when I was teaching a lady or helping a lady learn monogramming was I gave her a stitch ripper outer. And I says, now you take all the stitches out of this without destroying the material.
Oh, okay. So it's
And
not
she goes,
just
well, what do you
sewing.
want me to do that for? Because you're going to have to learn that because you're going to need it. And I can't tell you how many objects I have had to take the stitches out because it's tilted sidewards. You thought it was straight, and then you hold it up and it's going uphill or downhill.
At what stage do you consider that monogramming becomes a collectible? What type of items?
I do monogramming on people's items. I don't go shopping. They bring it to me.
Okay.
And I do a lot of christening dresses that are passed on down through the family. And I've got about 5 or 6 customers, and they bring me these dresses, and it's like I'm running out of room with each generation, each great-grandchild, and their children and their children's children.
Do they add
these
on to the christening gown the initials from the first, from the grandmother to the second to the third?
But it's the full name. It's the full christening name. So you get, you know, Christopher Roger Greenfield, you know, is the whole name across the back of the christening dress that they wear.
I've never seen one, but that should be something
Oh,
to
it's
see.
gorgeous, and you really have to be careful because the material is old.
Exactly, and
And-
if you pull something, the whole thing will fall apart.
Let's just say I take a big breath and hold my breath until the machine finishes.
And mostly these are done in satin. The material is
No,
satin.
the material is cotton because in those days they didn't have satin. They usually used, if you have seen older christening dresses, they're that beautiful tucked, you know, cotton that some great-great-grandmother sewed by hand.
So that's really delicate.
Very delicate.
I have my baby shirt.
Very
Yes.
But yeah, so that would be a super collectible to have stuff like that. And also they monogrammed the little footstools you know, that they put in front of the chairs that you sit by the fire to sew on. I've seen those hand monogrammed, and then they put them onto, there's where you would use your little bit heavier thread, and they put those on the little footstool in front of the fire years ago.
Now, do they have a museum for monogramming? Or?
Some areas have special areas for the monogram, not per se a museum for monogramming that I know of. There might be, I'm not sure. But when you go into a museum, you're going to see handwork, and you're going to see that it was monogrammed. And
see, if you're not looking, that's what captured my interest.
Yes.
When you told me that you did monogramming.
Yes.
And that you told me that it went back so far. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually taking a great history lesson today here because I didn't realize.
Some of the dresses that the movie stars wear when they go up on the red carpet, a lot of them are monogrammed. And when I say monogram, they're actually embroidered. They embroider the flowers and all down the front of the dress, you know, more than just this one flower here. The whole dress would be covered with these, and then a sequin or a bead sewn into each one of the flowers to make it glisten or make it look like it has.
Well, I saw in my mother's fur coat, her initials were monogrammed in there, and I'm like, why would you want to initial your fur coat?
So someone doesn't steal it.
Never occurred to me.
Now you know the big overcoats that Donald Trump wears. Mm-hmm. I've monogrammed the inside pocket. You do the inside pocket usually in gold thread, because when you take off that coat, you want it to show.
Oh my!
And
but no, I'm good. Nothing showing.
It keeps that coat from being stolen, because it has his name. And when he takes it off and does this, he's basically without words saying, "This is my coat. Don't think about walking out with it."
Well, that's okay. I went to a meeting once, and I had a long coat, and there was a man's coat hanging there, and I was in a hurry to get out, and I tossed his coat and put it on, got in the car. Down the block, I go over there. Geez, this feels like it's too big for me. I actually had to turn around and realize that it was not my coat because he had his initials on the inside.
There you go. I was going to tell you a cute story. This gentleman came up to me as I was monogramming in the store. I used to take my machine and do it right then and there on the shirts. And he had a monogram going down the side of his sleeve. And I've never seen that before. And I looked at him and I said, what does that say? Because it was written in Chinese, these little characters. And I said, I've never seen that before. And he just laughed and he looked at me and he goes, I travel to China quite often. And I always have them do my laundry and it says no starch in the collar.
Okay, before we run out of time, let's go through this and let's show them more.
I wanted to show that a lot of people in decorating, this is big, mega monogramming. So you put like a one great big huge initial on a throw pillow.
Okay.
You know, so that's done a lot too.
And what's the other thing?
And then the other thing is towels. A lot of people, this is sort of a new thing that they're doing. Instead of putting your initial on the towel, what you do is you get the design and all around the edges here is
you sculpture
flattened. It's flattened.
With the sewing machine?
Yeah, the machine would do this. And so the texture of the towel is what actually makes the letter. So it's opposite of monogramming on it. You're going around it.
Have you done this?
No,
already?
I haven't yet, but it looks interesting. Something I might try.
Okay. What else did you have here?
People, other than my purse, they monogram purses. They put their initials and their shoes. That's a little tag that was put onto the side of the shoe.
I think that's a little too much.
Well, you don't lose your shoes. You know,
okay.
after the wedding, when everybody takes their shoes off.
Okay. So But it's been great having you on the program, and I can't tell you how excited I am about this whole thing. I've learned so much today. And is there any information that you can give out to the audience out there and tell them where they can get some information about this if they want to learn monogramming to encourage them?
Well, all they have to do is, you know, you can Google monogramming, you'll get thousands of people who sell the machines. But it's become in the home now. They have sewing machines now that do sewing and monogramming. And so that hasn't bothered the industry at all because they do the big stuff. But it's really a fun hobby to do at home.
Are you going to let us have your email to put at the end of the program, so just in case they have a question, they can email you and you can just guide them along to wherever
I would be happy
monogram land might be?
I would be happy to do that, no problem at all. But next time you go shopping, you're going to be more aware as you thumb through the clothes
I tell
to look
you,
for.
I'm a museum person. I go a lot to the museums, and I'm going to be looking for the monograms. From 16th, 17th century monograms.
Oh, you'll find them. You'll find them. And look in the paintings too. Not just in the clothes.
That's true.
A lot of the what you think are tapestries are actually embroidered tapestries. Oh, totally different.
You just opened up a wicked world for me. But anyway, I'd like to thank you for being on the program. And I hope you'll be back again with something else that's great, some great information, because I know you're an artist. So you're welcome. And thank you for watching. And remember, we're taping here out of Craftiques Mall at the Garden Tea Lounge. And thank you so much. And remember that history is in the heart of the collector. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next program.